Olympic Games in 2010 are awarded to the city of Singapore.
Let me thank you all for being here. We have another 10 hours to go, so the games are not over yet. So I think it would be premature to celebrate and say that everything is done and neatly packed away. But I think even at this stage, I think we can reflect on a few key points. The first point is the performance of our athletes. I think we can safely say a new generation of sports stars have now arrived on the scene. These are young people full of promise, and what we have shown is that Singaporeans and the Singapore system is capable of producing people who can go up against the best in the world and compete. We'll win medals sometimes we will not. That's the nature of the game. But the key point is that we are competitive on a world stage. So I think that's the first key point that has been established by our athletes. The second thing which I have found really outstanding has been the performance of our volunteers. And for those of you, I think particularly those of you who've been on this long journey with us, I think everyone knows that Singapore can organize things. Everyone knows Singaporeans are efficient, are go-getters and get things done. But I think the most striking thing about our volunteers this time has been that we have shown that Singaporeans know how to smile, how to be gracious, how to be welcoming, how to be hospitable, in addition to all our usual attributes, of efficiency and the ability to get things done. Every single foreign athlete or official I've met has commented on our volunteers and their attitude, their energy, and their, fix it with style kind of characteristic and attribute. So I think we really do need to acknowledge and to actually thank, the volunteers. The third point I've concluded is that I think a reawakening of spectator support for sports has occurred. Initially people were saying, you can't sell tickets, or even if you do, some people will not bother to show up. But you realize one of the first problems we hit once the game started was that people were actually very angry and they wanted to get in and they couldn't get in, and they saw some empty seats. When we then intervened to make the changes, to then see the full house, but not just the full house, the way in which people went to support Singaporeans, and not just support the Singaporean team, but even the sporting manner in which we celebrated other countries and other athletes' achievements and sporting prowess, showed that I think Singaporeans understand what it is now to support sports, to respect excellence, and to really be, have a sporting attitude in general. So, for those of you who are at Jalan Besar, the crowds, the way they sang the anthem, the way they cheered for our team and shed tears both in victory and defeat. And equally important, last night, even after our match, the numbers who stayed on to watch the Bolivia-Haiti match, showed, I think, that we now have the basis, or we have now reawakened, the ability to appreciate sports in Singaporeans. The fourth point, which I noticed and I went around to all the venues, was that again, we didn't have the national stadium in play. Every single facility was in the community or reused or recycled. And whilst the individual temporary seats may not have been comfortable, I think if you look at the field of play, the quality of the facilities and the infrastructure, I think the YOG has been an excellent opportunity for us to upgrade our infrastructure and also to be able to say, unlike all other major games, there will be no wasted infrastructure. Everything's been upgraded. It is now at world standard, and these same facilities will be used by ordinary Singaporeans, weekend warriors, as well as elite athletes. And I think, significant satisfaction from that, knowing that there is real legacy on the ground for our people to appreciate. Beyond that, I've also looked at, reflected on the performance of our Singapore companies. Yes, both our sponsors as well as our service providers. If you look at, say, people who have been involved with putting up the stage for opening, and later on you will see tonight for the closing ceremony, if you look at the temporary works which were put up at all our venues, I think, again, it was a very clear signal that Singapore companies were up to the mark and were able to deliver something which was outstanding. If you look not beyond just infrastructure, if you look at services, the services provided by, of course, major companies like Singtel, StarHub, MediaCorp, all the back-end services. Again, I think, whilst we cannot say everything was perfect, but if you look at it overall, I think the level and quality of infrastructure and service support truly was outstanding. So I think that, again, is both an accolade to our companies, as well as, I think, building base for them to expand their markets overseas. Because anyone thinking of organizing or hosting games in the future, even in other venues, will know that Singaporean companies are up to the mark and can deliver. So overall, when I look at all these things, the athletes, the volunteers, the spectators, the venues, the Singapore companies, I am satisfied that we made the right decision 2.5 years, in fact 3 years ago, to bid for the games. The investments which we have made, the expenditures that we have incurred have been worthwhile. And I think we have now brought sports up to a new platform, a new launch pad on which I think great things can be expected in the future. Obviously, we're not going to host another Youth Olympic Games or Summer Olympics, but what we have now established and the benchmark which we have now set puts us in contention for many other things in the future. And, I think it's going to be a very exciting time for the sports, the athletes, the sports officials, sports-related businesses, service providers in Singapore, as well as infrastructure. I must say, of course, the other thing which kept me up awake last night was that we were trying to to arrive at financial close for the National Stadium. I put a lot of pressure on my staff as well as on the consortium, because I wanted to settle this before the end of the Youth Olympic Games. So I'm very glad we settled it at, I think, 11:59. And that's why you all received a press release, I think, after midnight. But that's the other, as far as I was concerned, that was the other missing piece in the jigsaw. To be able to leave and say, that's the next big piece. It will be built by 2014. We will have an outstanding stadium, including, of course, swimming, indoor arena, and all the other ancillary services. And, so I think we're in a very nice position, a very good position. And the next few years, in the next decade in sports, will be an exciting time.